Today we're going to be talking about my favorite topic, and that is the rib. Why is it my favorite topic? Because if you're trying to prove that the Bible is a supernatural book, there are certain key components to doing that. And I have found the rib as one component that nobody, I don't care who you are, you cannot debate the evidence I'm about to present you. We all know the story of Adam and Eve. Adam was created from the dust of the ground, and Eve was created from a rib bone from man. Now my question was always, why didn't God just use the dust of the earth again to create woman? So that's what we're going to be looking at. But think about something. What is the most important bond you can even think of on this earth? To me, it's a mother and its child. Now why is that? It's because the child comes physically from the mother. It's part of her. So what better way than to take the bone of Adam and somehow be able to create a woman from him, something that would be actually from him. Now, so what bone do you choose? First, let's look at a very interesting fact. I was always curious about this. You know, if man is from the dust of the ground, really, then the components of man should be what's in the dust of the ground. Now, you can look this up anywhere. But here are the elements present in the human body. And the Bible verse says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." These are the components you'll find in your body. It's amazing what's in there. I mean, things like iron and bromine and lead and just all kinds of different things. Of course, oxygen is by far the biggest component, but what's interesting is all of these, every single one of them, can be found in the minerals on the surface of the ground. Now, it literally appears as if God, and I have no idea, this is just some picture I drew, but it looks like literally he could have reached down into the crust of the earth and come up with the chemicals needed. Now, I'm not saying literally just reach in there, but they're there. They're right here on the surface of the ground. Every chemical component, every element, I should say, that's in your body. There are 206 bones in the human body. 206. Only one, let me restate that, only one out of 206 will regrow if surgically removed correctly. You guessed it, the rib. One. Now think about that. 205 other choices. Now how did Moses know that the one bone that he would actually say that God had taken from the man to make woman, how would he know that's the one bone that would be able to regrow itself? Now, you can look this up on any medical website that has to do with removing ribs. And I'll give you a little hint here. If you look up sites that show people that have scoliosis, they often remove one of the ribs, and then that somehow balances things out. Now, it's very clear. If surgically removed correctly, the rib can regenerate itself, regrow. Now, there's no other bone. If you remove an arm, if you remove, whatever bone you choose, it will not grow back. I mean, we know that. I mean, if you lose your arm, it's gone. There's no regeneration process that the body naturally does. The rib, however, that is different, if surgically removed correct. But we can even take this a step further. Now, bone marrow transplantation. I don't know if you're familiar with it. My brother's a bone marrow transplant specialist. I don't have a lot of knowledge in that area, but what I do know is that bone marrow can actually be infused back into your body. It can help regrow other organs and to regrow damaged organs. Yeah, like I say, you have to Google bone marrow transplant. But when you do that, you'll find there are 5 common donor sites. If you were going to get bone marrow from a subject, there are 5 donor spots. The cranium, or the skull, the sternum, the vertebrae in the back, the pelvis, and you guessed it, the rib. Now, there's also some evidence that some of the bigger bones, such as the leg bone and certain bones here, can also work too. But the biggest donor sites, and you can look this up on the internet, look up where does bone marrow transplants come from. And every place you find, I guarantee you, this baby will be there. There'll probably be about 4 or 5 donor areas, and one of them's the rib. So now, think about it. If you were going to take a donor site for bone marrow transplantation, would you want to mess with their skull, their sternum, their pelvis, their vertebrae, or what about this rib? Oh yeah, it also grows back. It regenerates. I think I'll choose that one. Now, let's look at what bone marrow transplantation can actually do. Now, if you look up bone marrow transplantation and stem cell transplantation, you will find there's not a whole lot of difference. The only difference is you're getting stem cells. Now, whether you get them from the bones or whether you get them from the blood, that's the two differences. But stem cells can actually regrow organs. They've actually shown that you can actually regrow. The Japanese have figured out how to regrow tiny livers. They call liver buds. There's people that are working on being able to eventually regrow a brain. Now, keep in mind that the person that caused a great sleep to come over at him and remove the one bone out of his body that would regenerate probably knows something about stem cells and the fact that they will regrow organs. So he just happened to take one of the 5 donor sites, a stem cell area, harvesting area, takes that and is able to take out that and come up with a way to regrow not only an organ, but an entire body. And not only an entire body, but a female body. Now, keep in mind what we're talking about. And I proposed this to my brother. I said, look at this. And he was honest with me. He said, we're light years away from going from like an X to a Y chromosome. That's just a huge leap. And I agree with that. But I'm willing to bet that the guy that did this, that leap is not so big for him. And I am willing to bet that he knows how to take bone marrow, stem cells, whatever you're talking about, and actually regrow an entire human being. And one that would actually fit perfectly with this human being. The feminine with the masculine. Okay, let's recap here. We have a book written 3,000 years ago by Moses that somehow records how an open body surgery would take place before anesthesia is even developed. Now you can argue maybe the Egyptians did some experimenting where they removed things from the body. It's possible. But again, you're saying Moses got so lucky he picked the one bone out of 206 that regenerates itself. Then the whole idea of taking a bone and making another person, it seems completely far-fetched at the time. Now we're starting to realize bone marrow is inside of this bone. In fact, this is one of the 5 areas you harvest it from. And you can actually take stem cells from that bone marrow and regrow organs. And supposedly, one day, maybe we'll actually be able to regrow a human being. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean, obviously we're talking science fiction here. But I'm just trying to get you to see that whoever wrote this stuff down 3,000 years ago, they had a little bit of knowledge about the human body.